Watch for the great block by Keith Byars on Pepper Johnson. Bam! Right there. Byars just failed.
He's Dayton's own Keith Byars. It's the Keith Byars Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken on Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Welcome. You're listening to the Keith Byars Radio Show. Live. I'm here live here at Lee's Famous Recipe, 4140 North Main Street here in Dayton. Come on by, have lunch with me. I'm live. I'm always live because usually I'm in my studio. I'm live and in person. Phone number to call here also is 937-457-9464. You hit me on Twitter also at KAB41. Your questions, comments, and concerns. And this is college football playoff week. We have Clemson this week. We're going to talk about this weekend. The Browns played and the Bengals played, and we'll talk about that also. But guys, come on out and live. We got giveaways, we got football, we got cornhole boards, and you can win that. And who doesn't want anything, between Christmas and New Year's? It's always a good time.
You get something new.
Happy belated Christmas. Coronavirus. You can get somebody, a cornhole award or autograph football. That's up to you. You mentioned coronavirus still in the midst of the pandemic. Please take care of yourselves. Don't relax. Let's continue to take care of one another. Wear your mask, social distance, from one another. So we can have next year's football season. We'll be in the stage where we have the high school games and all that But before I get too much into the show, that's why we can moment to reflect and be listening to the local national show. But somebody locally, I got a little. That's okay. I'm myself. Yeah. That's kind of loud. Leave my laptop. Here we go. Rest in peace to our former teammate of mine from my baseball days. Little League baseball, we played together. We were the same age. He died Christmas morning. But our prayers to his family. His name is Leroy Lucky. Just a great guy. And when we were 15 years old playing Little League Baseball All-Stars, that summer, we went back to home runs. I would come up and hit a home run, and then he got it right. I got the fourth, he got the fifth. And then we were knocking another home run. So we used to talk about that for over 30 years. And then we went back to back. So he really was different tomorrow. Some of his friends and friends here. So rest in peace, Leroy. Your folks and family is with us, and you'll never, ever be forgotten about it. This is the last show of the new year. Wow, 2020. I know everybody's ready to turn the page, and I don't want everyone to turn the page. We have a few days left here in 2020, and so we're going to make the most of it. And this is going to be a good 10 years from now, 15 years from now. 2020, yeah. Who could forget? So we got a few more days before 2020 in your mirrors. But in the meantime, take care of each other. Like I said, I got to talk about the Buckeyes and Clemson. I really want to get to that. But before I get to that, let's talk about the good and bad things of yesterday. Let's talk about the good things first. You're supposed to be a Bengals fan. It's like the season was going to be over. And you might maybe that top pick in the draft. Who knows how these last 4 or 5 games are going to end? But no. The Bengals are playing their best football of the season, which you want the team to play their best at the end. Wow, big game yesterday for the Cincinnati Bengals. Improved their record to 4-21 Houston Texans for 37-31. They played with passion. They played hard. Are they going to say Zach Taylor's job? Let's go. If you're a Bengal fan, that's frustrating because you're like, this is the team we want to see on Monday night against the Steelers, and they showed up. This is the team that goes in Houston after beat the Steelers at home. And that's how they play all the time. That's being professional. And I want to see them go out next week and win again. the Baltimore Ravens, maybe spoiler alert here. They can get 11 or 5 possibly. But play your guys out, guys. Your aim. Play the Baltimore Ravens and be a spoiler. Who knows? You may get some briefcases out of it. I don't know. But that's being a professional. The Cincinnati Bengals, Brandon Allen. Well, who are you? Joe Burrows is probably my job may be in jeopardy. Just joking. But 29 and 37 for 371 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Samaje Perine, 13 for 95 yards rushing. Giovanni Bernard. I for a second there, I'm like, am I watching Hunt and Chubb play in Bengals uniform? I mean, the one country is outstanding. T. Higgins, second round pick, rookie, played well. I mean, geez, that's winning football. Defense has some low field. But you're going to shut down your point there, probably. Nevertheless, only thing you remember at the end of the day is did we win or did we lose? And the Bengals won 37-31. Good job for the Bengals. Go out and finish the season on a high note. That'll put you at 5-10-1. Believe it or not, some of them 5-10-1. That was my rookie year with the Philadelphia Eagles. 5-10-1. That was the longest year of my career. I never lost that many games in my life. Not one season, never ever. But after going through that, it made me a better player. But man, like I can't do this anymore. I'm not gonna lose no more. And I never lost anymore after that. I always had winning records after going 5-10-1. It's good to know. So hopefully there's some Bengals in that locker room that wants to be a part of something positive. And it starts always up top. The Browns, I think at some point, hopefully the Brown family will just realize I am an owner and show up on game day and watch what happens and get Monday through Saturday. Hire somebody, a good president, a good general manager, a good head coach that will bring in the personnel in that locker room. That's what the best owners are. Because they make their living 2 and 3 other businesses. They're not really football people. You hire people who's going to run the organization, and you come in, like Rap, he's somewhat enthused with last year and a half. Football wise, the New England Rap has nothing to do with it. He shows up. Oh, you want another division title? Oh, awesome, guys. Show me in my suite. Oh, you won an AFC championship? Awesome. Oh, he's going to Super Bowl. And that's the only time the owners are supposed to be seen. But quoting throughout the week like Jerry Jones and Dallas, no, that's not that. They all have egos. But check your ego and put it in the background and just show up and say, okay, we won again. That's what the Bengals need. That's what the Brown family ought to do. Bring in football people that's going to make football decisions, and then you just show up. I know the Bengals would love to show up on the Super Bowl Sunday. They've done it twice in the past. How about a third time? But it will start once the front office gets handled, and then it will trickle down to the rest of the locker room. Finally, it seems to be that way with the Cleveland Browns. They brought in new management the last couple of years, and it's starting to show. But you said, Keith, I thought you were going to say something positive. I thought you were going to get on the Browns for losing. Oh, I'm going to get to that. Yeah, of course. But nevertheless, I grew up a Cleveland Browns fan. And yesterday I was talking to my producer, Justin Kennel, and we were like, is this a trap game for the Jets? Everybody's been talking about it all week. For the Browns playing the Jets. The Jets, they're terrible. But don't relax. Don't play down. Run the ball. We got the bad news. The whole Q4 at the last minute of COVID-19. So they were bringing up practice for our guys. So you have to make adjustments. Everybody in the others was talking about, okay, what are the Browns going to do? They're going to run the ball. They got to run the ball. Yeah, they came out about 50 times. 50 times. You can't blame the receivers. It's not how they talk. And before yesterday, we were talking about possibly coaching the year. One of the inside trackers, Kevin Stefanski, with Cleveland Browns. Is he the NFL coach of the year? Well, I'm sure he's going to get voted. He probably would have had a whole lot more votes prior to yesterday. But yesterday he blew it. He blew it. My coach of the year, was the Miami Dolphins coach. I thought that he's done a tremendous job. He's keeping them relevant. They're right now they're still in the playoffs. They won a miracle game, on Saturday, but they won the game. The Raiders, just gave them an opportunity, face mask penalties, things of that nature. But back with coach of the years, you keep your thing playing hard. Look at the decisions that the Miami Dolphins have made after 6 games. They had Fitzpatrick to be in a quarterback. Hey, we want our rookie, our future. And they brought Tua in. And they missed Tua in the game Saturday. Like, we're trying to win. We're going to bring in our relief pitcher. And I love that decision. That is coach of the year, moves. That's how you win, not just because we had to win this record. That's why, you're coach. You have to make decisions all throughout the year. They're tough decisions to make, but you have to do that. But the Cleveland Browns, come on. You're 10 and 5. You should have been 11. You should be 4. You feel like you can't stand past credit. And you got to be at the hard way. You are still in the playoffs. You're the 7th seed. You control your destiny. You win, you're in. You win, you're in. But you got the Ravens. The Ravens are fighting for the same thing. The Ravens are in the playoffs right now. But as muddled as this AFC picture is, you don't want to have to rely on the scoreboard. They know they're going to have a tough game, against you. So the Browns and the Ravens, you're both playing for something. And it's a travesty when it happens. Sometimes you're going to have 10 wins and not to make the playoffs. And that's going to happen this year. If you're a Cleveland Brown, don't let it happen to you. Some people say, well, the NFL should delay the game. The Denver Broncos already had to play a game this year with no quarterback. They're trying to coach to let it play. So this is 2020. Strange to happen. But there's no excuse. No excuse to lose to football. There's no excuse. I hope the Browns make the playoff. They're going to continue something like that. Way too long. But Browns, am I trying to make you feel better? I'm that's my job. Be truthful with you. That is a game that there's no excuse for losing. You didn't have a season. Okay, so but you have your regular season. You have your receivers on the roster. There's no excuse. Baker Mayfield, you take all congratulations when he loses. But you have to play. And that's a bitter pill. That's just the rules. There's no reason you can't do it. There's 2 turnovers cost you. If you're a franchise quarterback, not right now. I'm not saying get rid of it by no means. But you have to get better. This is your 3. You have to improve, Baker. You have to improve. You look good at times. You look all the time. And that's average. That's a C. So I get an A. That's a C. Average. You got to get better. You want to go to that. You quarterback. Because just because you're a quarterback of a team does not make you a franchise. There's probably very few when you talk about what it's like to be. There's very few quarterbacks. But he's a starting quarterback, absolutely. And there's only improvement. That's only if he wants to improve. So every game against the Ravens, all this slack taking today throughout the week will be forgotten about if you go with the Ravens. You have to win. The Ravens have been in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson, he won, this is his 3rd year also. He wants to continue to make the playoffs. They control their destiny too. They can keep, their game. So it's going to be a good game. It's going to be, an exciting game this weekend. The Browns have something to play for, as well as the Ravens. The Bengals are playing for pride. And that's something. They're playing for a job too. I remember the last week of the season, 2 times in my NFL career, you look around the locker room and you say, you're not going through the playoffs. You say, guys, you come out and phone it in if you want to. You won't be here next year. You better come out with the same intensity, ready to play football. Speaking of which, just about everybody see that interview yesterday after the game. J.J. Watt was talking about, what's it to play. I mean, that speech he gave was tremendous. It was motivational. But where was that intensity all throughout the season, JJ? You can't wait to week 17 and start. Where was that? Where's that leadership at week 4? Week 5, JJ. You know, that's it was falling deaf ears for me. I like what he said, but the message should have been said months ago.
Not now. You know, yeah, we suck. Really? Nobody wants to hear that.
Nobody wants to hear that. I'm a Texans fan. That's not excusable. Not excusable.
You know,
but the NFL is one of the things I love about it. He said, any given Sunday can happen. You know, and speaking of, Buckeyes around the league, Dwayne Haskins had a rough day. He had a rough week. He had a rough week. You know, from after losing to Seattle last Sunday, then being called in a strip club, without last season. And then he ends up starting this Sunday, and they went out and played well against the Panthers. Somebody got hit on the rug, but he did not play well. And not a lot to say about that. He needs to in some direction. Hopefully, this offseason, he can change the place. Maybe in next Sunday. I have nothing but a lot of respect and love for
Dwayne Haskins being a Buckeye, but he needs some direction right now. And hopefully, some of the veterans can, put an arm around him and point him in the right direction. But I have to talk a little bit after the break. We're going to get into the breakdown of the Clemson Tigers. And I seen the article the other day. Oh, they in the Buckeyes' head. No, they're not in my heads. In the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Sugar Bowl is coming on Friday. I can't wait. I'm excited. But right now, the phone number here to call is 937. Somebody's in the studio would get your call. 457-9464. We get on that after the break. You listen to the Keith Byars radio show presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
No break in the clouds as temps fall through the day. Mostly cloudy and breezy tonight. The temp will continue to drop into the low 20s. We'll see sunshine tomorrow with a high in the mid to upper 30s. I'm John Bailey for 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's the Keith Byars Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, right here on Dayton's home of the Buckeyes, 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's game day. Are you ready? If you want your game day meal in a hurry, be sure to stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and pick up a Buckeye bucket with 25 golden brown breast strips for only $29.99. And don't forget to add a large Dr. Pepper for $1. Lee's can make your gathering for the big game famous and take the work out of your perfect party. Buckeye buckets are available daily and limited 2 per customer. Pick up one today. Lee's, famous for chicken.
Our biggest storage event just got stronger. The Store More, Save More event going on now at the Home Depot. Get exclusive HDX black and yellow Tough Totes starting at just $4.98. They're heavy duty, durable, and come in a range of sizes from 7 to 70 gallons. So whether you need to store a little or store a lot, you're going to save loads. Make room for big savings at the Store More, Save More event going on now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Limited time only. Event and dates vary by store. See store for details.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
You have empty office space to fill. You know what you need, and you know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places that what you need and what you'd like, that might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half price and below manufacturer's suggested prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection? From budget to the best, really. Desks from $50 to $5,000. File cabinets, $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Lyric's Outlet. With 87,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Charles Lyric's Warehouse Outlet. 2 locations. One at 23 McOil Street, Dayton. The other, Uniques Unlimited on South Dixie. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Saturday, 10 to 4.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but thought it would be too difficult? Then try Babbel. Babbel starts by teaching you words and phrases that gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations. So in 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking a new language in a few weeks. Babbel is built around real life. It teaches you practical conversations that you will actually use. Babbel. Language for life. Start the new year with a new language. Get up to 60% off now at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Whether you're a pro on the job site or managing properties, clean and safe is your #1 priority, and Lowe's has the pro-grade cleaning supplies you need. We go beyond the basics, bringing you commercial cleaning from top brands like Clorox, Zep, and Rubbermaid, and in larger sizes, so you can take on any cleaning job, knowing you have the quantity you need. Shop Lowe'sForPros.com and have your items delivered, or pick up in store. Lowe's, the new home for pros. U.S. only.
Starting route. Your destination is 0.1 miles away.
If you drive less than
500 feet, turn left. You have arrived at your destination.
If you drive less than 25 miles a day, you could be paying less every day with pay-per-mile car insurance from Allstate. You get the same reliable coverage and hands-on expertise you'd expect from Allstate, but now at a price that's tailored to the miles you drive.
Call your local Allstate agent and start paying what's right for you. Includes a daily rate. Prices vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Not applicable in California. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and its affiliates.
Make it a new family habit to take your temperature with the Extragen temporal scanner before dinner and in the morning. It's the #1 thermometer used and recommended by hospitals, doctors, and nurses.
Excuse me. I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me. Get granular. Keep me in the pipeline. But nada. Nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me, and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume, and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
There are many ways to catch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. You can catch it live right here on 1410 Wing AM, or you can stream the show at wingam.com. But now we have another way that you can take in the show. You can now watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash live on ESPN Dayton's Facebook page. Listen, stream, watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. You listen to the Keith Byars Radio Show. And we're live right here in Dayton, Ohio, at the Lee's North Main location, 4140 North Main Street. Coming out, you can win you some awards and autographed football, cornhole board, or you can give me a call. So you're not going to win if you just call, but the number is 937-457-9464. You got to come in the store and have lunch with me. I had me a quick bite on the break. And also you can hit me on Twitter, KAB41. We got to talk about the Buckeyes and the Clemson Tigers. But I have Reggie on the line from Dayton. How you doing today, Reggie?
Pretty good.
What's on your mind, buddy?
Can I talk about? I bet come up. Can I talk about the Browns a little bit?
Absolutely.
Okay. Hey, talking about the Browns not having a starter. But when you look
not having their starting wide receivers.
right, okay, now, can you think of somebody on the Jet defense?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can I think of somebody in the Jets defense that did what now?
What? Yeah. Who did they have? So it was second string playing against second string. So that's no excuse.
Well, I mean, not only there's no excuse for that. You're right.
And that's the bottom line. And see, I think. Don't they play the Steelers this weekend?
Yes, they do. No. The Browns play the Ravens. No, the Browns play
the Browns play the Steelers.
The Steelers. I'm sorry. You're right. You're correct.
Exactly.
They play the Steelers.
Right.
And they're hoping the Steelers lay down since they've already clinched the division, but they won't do that.
I don't think they will. Because why would you want to play the Browns 3 times in a row? I know.
Yeah, when you can just go ahead and finish them off right now. But if you're, if you listen to this show before, and especially early in the year, I always talk about you got to have an identity. Each year is different. You got to. The quicker you identify who you are, that leads to success. The Browns are a running football team.
Right.
Yet they didn't want to run the ball against the Jets. You throw the ball 50 times. That's a coaching decision, and that's just bad all the way around.
It was, because I think they were trying to take the Jets for granted. So it was kind of like, well, okay, we can beat them, so we are going to let Baker practice throwing.
Yeah, see, but that's my point exactly. You're not good enough to be, taking teams for granted. It's not like, the Steelers had a let down, or the Patriots, had the Brady years haven't let down. You're Cleveland Browns. You're still trying to figure out who you are, who your identity. You cannot afford to take a team for granted. If anything, anybody taking anybody for granted, they're taking you for granted. We got Cleveland. We can get this W, and that perception needs to be changed as soon as possible. And the only way you change that is by going out, doing what the Browns were doing the first 14 weeks of the season, one game at a time. So they have to get back to that right now.
Okay, now, when they play the Steelers Sunday, I think it's going to be a make or break. Now, if Baker...
No, it is make or break.
Well, if they lose, then I'm saying next year they need to bring in another quarterback to at least challenge him. And I'm thinking Jameson Winston. That's who I'm looking at.
Yeah. I think, I wouldn't. I wouldn't totally disagree with you. I think healthy competition is always important, to have. Right. No matter what position you play. I mean, I don't care if you're, a great defensive end. There's another defense on the other side trying to make plays too. And you guys both, you feed off that, and same goes for quarterback. You don't have backup quarterbacks, not wanting to play. You're a backup quarterback. You want to be a starter someday. I mean, Baker Mayfield, he was, drafted the first pick overall, but he didn't start once he got to Cleveland. But he wanted to start, but he had to wait his time. And then it was like after 7 weeks, and okay, let's put Baker in there. Then they put him in there. He wanted to start, so bring him some competition.
But is he going to
look at what's going on in Philadelphia. They got Carson Wentz, but they drafted a quarterback in the second round, and Jalen Hurts, and he's playing pretty good football. They lost yesterday. They've lost, the last couple of weeks, but it's not Jalen Hurts' fault, the reason why they lost. So there's healthy competition, and it's going to be interesting offseason in Philadelphia this year, and what you're proposing, put a little light of fire up under Baker so he doesn't go into this offseason. Even if they mess around and make the playoffs and win the Super Bowl, you still can't relax. And I guess that's what you're saying, right? Yep, that's what I agree with you, Reggie. So we will see how it all works out. But this Friday night, prime time. We had a college football playoffs. It starts the first game early in the day between Notre Dame and Alabama. That's going to be a pretty good appetizer game, to get ready for the main course. between Ohio State and Clemson. But one quick thing about the appetizer game, sometimes you get surprised. So if Alabama comes in there not taking Notre Dame serious and mess around this middle of the second quarter, and it's a one-score game, and it's at halftime, it's still a one-score game, it's pretty close. Second half can get very interesting. Very interesting. So, and they, believe it or not, that game, their teams match up pretty decent offensively. Alabama can score from anywhere on the field at any time, with their wide receivers and running back. They're scary, but they can only score if you're on the field. So what Notre Dame is going to have to do is run the football. They do a good job of playing power football. They use all three of their tight ends, and it's similar to the Baltimore Ravens. They can shorten the game by keeping Alabama's offense off the field, because Alabama doesn't take long to score, but they only score one series at a time. So if Notre Dame keeps that game close by controlling the clock and putting a little pressure on Alabama, that game can get interesting. But I still see Alabama winning that game by 2 to 3 scores. But just college football. Anything can happen, but don't totally count out Notre Dame. Even though they looked horrible last time out against Clemson in the ACC championship game, I expect the same, to happen, in the college football playoffs. But I won't be totally surprised. I'm not trying to play both sides of the fence, but I'm saying Alabama has one possible first-round pick on that defense, and that's the cornerback Surtain. He can still be beaten. But they don't have any linebackers that scare me. They don't have any D linemen that scare me in Alabama, because you don't really see a lot of them, because they're always up 14 points by the middle of the first quarter. And now the offense had to change their game plan. So don't totally count out Notre Dame. That would be the upset of the year if Notre Dame, goes in there and whip them. You never know. But the game that we're all going to be, most of the entree is going to be Ohio State Clemson. When Ohio State played Clemson last year, and we know how that game ended and how we all felt going into the offseason, like, it was just and that's the beauty, of college football, is that it's not always next year, because you're going to have guys graduate. You got to bring in an incoming freshman class. It's not like the NFL, where majority, we're going to keep our core team together and just add a piece here, add a piece there. You don't always get to do that in college football, because guys leave and go on their eligibility's up. Pros, your eligibility's up when you get fired for the most part. But you get it, how often are you going to get back-to-back bowl games against the same opponent? That's rare. And so Ohio State gets that. And I was, going over thinking about the game all week long. Well, ever since they announced it, almost 2 weeks now. But, I was just sizing up both teams. And I said, I made me a list, and I was going down my list, who has the edge, who doesn't have, what's even at. So here's my list. Okay, who has the edge as a head coach? Dabo Swinney or Ryan Day? Who has the edge? Yeah, I got to give the edge to Clemson on that. Dabo has more, experience. This is only Ryan Day's second year. I think Ryan Day is going to be a tremendous coach. And he's done a tremendous 2 Big Ten championships in 2 years. What more can you ask? So how about a national championship? That's what I want. Okay, we're getting there. But he's been in the college football playoffs 2 years in a row. But you have to, respect your opponents and be honest. So even though I don't like Dabo, I had to give him credit. He has the edge as the head coaching, matchup in this game. So edge goes to Clemson. The offensive coordinator, who has the edge? Ohio State's offensive coordinator or Clemson's offensive coordinator? I call that even. They both get a point. So they both get a point on mine. The defensive coordinator, Ohio State's defensive coordinator, Clemson's defensive coordinator. I'm going to give the edge to Clemson's defensive coordinator. Some of the things that we've done on defense this year, just don't quite understand it. Especially when we're playing Indiana, there's 4th down and goal at the 12-yard line, and we're playing soft coverage, and they score a touchdown. I'm like, come on. Why are we in man coverage in situations like that? So, and whereas I've seen Clemson throughout the year, Venerable, he has a lot of exotic defenses, a lot of exotic blitzes, and so he changes the Clemson look up, an awful lot throughout the season, no matter who they're playing. And so I know he's going to have a few wrinkles under, his sleeve for Justin Fields, just like he did last year. And I got to give Clemson the edge there. But then I have the overall coaching staff. So I singled out 2 Clemson coaches, the defensive coordinator and the head coach, but the whole staff, that's including the defensive line coach, the defensive back coaches, and everything else. Who has the edge in that area? I'm going the other way. I'm going to Ohio State. Ohio State has the edge. The most underrated coach on our staff is assistant head coach Larry Johnson. Just a tremendous coach. Every year seems to have an All-American on his defensive line, and this year it's our defensive tackle, Haskell Garrett, and Tommy Togiai also got a lot of, consideration. Those guys, in the trenches, everybody overlooks it, but our defensive line coach, it gives us the edge as that. Now let's talk about the quarterback. Who has the edge as a quarterback matchup? Ohio State's Justin Fields or Clemson's, Trevor Lawrence? I'm giving that even. I mean, that's 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other. There's some things that Trevor does better than Justin Fields, and there's some things Justin Fields does better than Trevor Lawrence. Who is a better runner? Justin Fields. Yes, Trevor Lawrence can run. I can still see him streaking down the field. That's from 60-something yards, 67 yards last year in the game. But that was more or less missed tackles. And, and Trevor has deceptive speeds because you're 6'7" and you take them long strides, you cover a lot of ground. So, but the creativity as a runner, I'm going, and they can buy time in the pocket, Justin Fields. So they both get a point there. So there's no clear-cut advantage between those two. It's just what you like. But they're both going to be first-round picks. They're both going to, I believe, they're going to have tremendous careers, that when they play on Sunday. But I'm not concerned about Sunday. I'm concerned about Friday night. So there's going to be an even matchup. The running back position, Clemson or Ohio State. Yes, Trey Sermon just ran for 300-something yards. Set a new Buckeye single game record. But I'm still giving the edge and a decided edge, with Clemson. Travis Etienne, he was one of the difference makers. He was the silent difference maker in the game last year. The 2 big touchdowns he had, he's pretty special. We have got to tackle him on Friday night. So not only do Clemson get 1 point, I'm giving them 2 points because that guy's pretty good. He's and we have to tackle him and we have to tackle Trevor Lawrence if we want to have a great deal of success on Friday night. Which leads me to the offensive line. Who has the edge between Ohio State and Clemson in the offensive line? Well, I'm giving them both a point. One for Ohio State, one for Clemson, because Clemson, they're not necessarily smash mouth, just maul you, like Ohio State did against Northwestern, but they run a lot of misdirections, and and they protect Trevor Lawrence extremely well. So that's good. That matchup is going to be pretty even. So a point, apiece. And Ohio State has the ability, to maybe get a little bit more, because going into the Big Ten championship game, a lot of people forgot Ohio State was the only college team in the country that averaged over 250 yards rushing and 250 yards passing. So we're not one-handed, we're even-handed, and that goes to the guys up front to allow that can run them, but we can play smash mouth, or we can spread it out and give the quarterback time to complete passes as well. Also, now since we're talking about offense, let's talk about the wide receiver position. The Ohio State wide receivers, Clemson's wide receivers. I like Rodgers, Amari Rodgers for Clemson, but I absolutely love Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. Clemson have good receivers every year, they do, and they're not slouches this year. Those guys are good. But if I have to give an edge in the receiver matchup, Ohio State has the edge over Clemson, 1-0. So Ohio State has the edge there. Tight end. Who has the edge in the tight end matchup between Ohio State and Clemson? There is none. So that's a wash. We don't use our tight ends enough, and neither does Clemson. They use theirs maybe a little bit more than us, but they not really. So a point for each. Whereas we could get an advantage if we use them, if we use our tight ends, but we don't. So still no edge either way in that matchup. The defensive line, I talked about that briefly earlier. Ohio State's defensive line and Clemson's defensive line. They both got really good defensive lines, but I got to go, with Ohio State's. Not being a homer, but Tommy Togiai, Jared Haskins, and the list goes. They rotate awful lot. You mentioned, Coach Johnson. And that was a difference in the game last year. Our defensive line played outstanding. We held Travis Etienne to not a lot of yards. He got his yards in the passing game. So again, Ohio State has the edge over Clemson at the defensive line. The linebackers, I'm giving that even. We don't have any, Pepper Johnson, Chris Spielman, Jerome Baker, Tom Kuznos, Randy Grash. We don't have it at our defense, and neither does Clemson. So that's the edge, is, even one way or the other. We don't have an advantage over them, and they don't have an advantage over us at the linebacker position. The defensive back position, I'm giving us just a slight edge because of potential that we have with Shaun Wade. Shaun Wade probably had his best game of the year last year against Clemson prior to getting booted out for targeting call. Shaun Wade can be the difference this week. I mean, we need him. He's Big Ten Defensive Back of the Year. He needs to have his best game of his career. I mean, I know his draft stock has slid down. He went into the season as a first rounder, and he's probably going to be drafted right now if the season ended today without playing his game against Clemson. He's probably going to be a second or third rounder, maybe fourth, the way the season is he has. But I know the potential that he has, and he can creep back up with an outstanding game Friday night against Clemson. I need to see the Shaun Wade of old, so I'm going to give us a slight edge of that. The punter. We have an outstanding punter each and every year. Clemson punter doesn't get a lot of reps because the way he was running through the ACC. Advantage Ohio State. Extra kickers, field goal kickers, no advantage. They both, do a pretty, serviceable job. So advantage, it's even there. Experience is both even there. Real experienced team, championship team. So is Ohio State. No advantage there. The turnover battle, that's going to win the football game. At the end of the day, I would like to see us do a better job of taking the ball away. It seems like I'm never satisfied, but, we have to take the ball away better than we did. And if you look back at last year's game, and I've done the research, and not that I needed to look it up, but sometimes you need to just look it up, just get it fresh in your mind. I try to forget about it. Is that game going to win a whole lot of different directions? But it came down to two turnovers that we had two turnovers. Clemson had 0. So imagine if we don't have any turnovers, we win that football game. And the last turnover with the interception in the end zone, but we had a great interception that the Clemson player made against Justin Field Simmons. He just came out. He had a great pick on the sideline. But in Clemson, we didn't get the ball away from Clemson. Yes, we stripped him on the fumble that wasn't called. And that would have been a major turnover in the game because it would have led to points. But all big games comes down to turnovers, because I went through a whole list of things. But if we don't take care of the football, we can't get mad about losing. And we don't take it away from them, we can't get mad about losing. But at the end of that, we got to win the football game. Whether we have more turnovers or not, we still have to win the football game. And I'll get into more of that, after break. You're listening to the Keith Byars radio show presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
It's the Keith Byars Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, right here on Dayton's home of the Buckeyes, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Is the cost of finishing the basement worth the benefit of some peace and quiet? When questions find you, Merrill Edge Self-Directed Investing can help you find answers with personalized planning tools and insights to help you get where you want to go, even if it's just downstairs. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/withinreach to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated. Registered broker-dealer, member SIPC. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
O'Reilly. When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it up curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey, Sam, back from your date so soon?
It didn't exactly go well. I really struggle with communication, trust, lack of commitment. At this rate, I'll be a single mom forever.
Maybe you should check out if you qualify for the free classes offered at Marriage Works Ohio. They have TANF funds for people over 18 with a child at home or pregnant. You may qualify as a single mom. They help married couples and singles with healthy relationship classes, including topics like dating. Go to trustmarriage.com or call 937-262-7010 to register.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth partying with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
The holidays are here, and Rob's Beer Barn is stocked with the newest seasonal refreshments, and they're going fast. Pick up your specialty beers before they're gone. Rob's Beer Barn has you covered for all your gatherings with ice-cold refreshments, craft, imported, local, and seasonal beers, fine wines, snacks, and ice. Rob's has it all, and for last-minute items, you can call, walk in, or drive through. Stop in and visit Rob's and stock up today. Rob's Beer Barn on Indian Ripple Road at Darst, just a mile east of the Green. Rob's Beer Barn. Look for the beaver.
New year, new job, new pay rates. Ritz Hall North America LLC in Urbana has immediate openings seeking experienced assembly operators, welders, machine operators, paint unloaders, and paint loaders. Ritz Hall offers a minimum starting wage of $15.30 per hour with a $1 shift differential for second and third shifts, monthly attendance bonus, and benefits starting on the first of the month after hire. If interested, please email Katie McKee your resume at mckee.k@ritzhall.us. Ritz Hall is proud to be an affirmative action and equal opportunity employer.
Everyone's temperatures vary throughout the day, so it's important that you screen for fever in the morning and in the evening. Fever is a sign of COVID-19, so stay safe with the Exergen Temporal Scanner.
Attention men under the age of 35. You know what really impresses the ladies? When a guy has a few drinks and later gets pulled over for buzz driving. That could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. There goes let's grab dinner and a movie. Oh, I know. You drive more carefully when you're buzzed. You've proven that hundreds of times. A woman admires that kind of confidence. And you practiced how to speak if a cop does pull you over. Slowly, clearly, and politely like, "Good evening, officer." A woman admires that kind of foresight. And what woman doesn't find it adorable that you call it buzzed even though the law calls it drunk? You can kiss $10,000 goodbye, along with any chance of having a girlfriend. Because nothing says, "I'm a catch," more than a guy who lives in his parents' basement and calls it my place.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I can't wait till sports talk tomorrow because Justin's going to be all over. He's one of the people from day one that says the Bengals need to get an offensive line to protect their vets.
Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays at 3 p.m. right here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Byars Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Welcome back to the Keith Byars Radio Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. I'm live here, 4140 North Main Street. So we have some people come through and have lunch and taking some pictures, and we got football still to give away and cornhole boards. You got to be here to sign it, and be here to to win it. But I know it's just lunchtime and you're at work, and hey, break out. We're not that far away. You're right down the street. Just pull on over and come on in and say hello. Well, the Ohio State Buckeyes playing in the college football playoffs, and they're excited about being there. Everybody wants to be the number one seed, and that doesn't mean anything once you get into the Final Four because they're all worthy teams that are that should be in there and can win it. Any of these four teams can certainly win the national championship, but you want to be one of the four until we change the system. System is a 12-year contract, and they're only in year 7. I was talking to my producer yesterday. I'm like, well, we have a constitution here in the United States, but don't we have amendments to that? It's been changed a few times. And we need some amendments, to this college football playoff deal. But right now, this is what we have. You're an Ohio State Buckeye fan. You're in it. And that's all that matters. I mean, last year I thought we had the short end of the stick. We were number 1 for the last 3 weeks, and then the selection Sunday, we dropped to number 2. Why is that? That's crazy. But nevertheless, we're in there. This year, we're the 3rd seed, playing a 2 seed. The only difference is you wear your home jerseys or you wear your away jerseys. But you're playing. We have Clemson. So I was thinking about it this morning, and, all the big games that I played in, over my career, growing up, how do you win big games? I went over that, on the last part of the show, talking about the matchup. But as an individual player, the main thing, the main key that each player has to do, because being a former player, it's frustrating for me to watch the game because I want to play. I always want to play. So if I was playing, I can control what was going on. But from the outside, I just got to bring you guys the information so that to put you inside, the locker room space and what's on the player's mind. And what I was thinking of this morning when I was thinking about the show, like, how do you win big games like this? It's very simple. Just stay in the moment. If you stay in the moment and don't let the moment overwhelm you, because you are prepared. You have bowl games I played in college, played in 4 bowl games. And even, playing in the Rose Bowl, oh my God, so special. I mean, the Rose Bowl, I grew up watching this game on television in Pasadena, playing in the Fiesta Bowl. Wow. Being in Phoenix, Arizona, to play, in the Fiesta Bowls. And now they're playing here, Friday night down in New Orleans in the Sugar Bowl. And that's something, when you're playing these moments in these games, even at the time, I remember being, 18 or 22 playing these bowl games. Like, I grew up watching these games, and you're going to talk about it for the rest of your life. Because you're going to always remember the 1983 this or the 1995 that and 2014, Sugar Bowl when Ohio State won the national championship. You remember all those things. And so it's going to, that part of history will always be there. But while you're doing it, you have to stay in the moment. And I remember in the 1983 season, 84 Fiesta Bowl, when I had a 99-yard kickoff return. Never thought that I would have an opportunity, to have a kickoff return in a bowl game. But, when I did it, I enjoyed it. I was in the mall like, wow. When I'm thinking about tomorrow and next year and 5 years and 20 years and 35 years later, not at the time, because the only thing matters is what's going on right now. So in the player's mindset, that's Ryan Day's main job, is to get the players to focus on the moment. What happened last year, in the Fiesta Bowl between Clemson, it doesn't matter to the players in the locker room. It shouldn't matter until after that clock ticks down 3, 2, 1, 0, and you look at the scoreboard and you got at least one more point Clemson, then it matters. And then all those emotions will come out and you will be able to enjoy it and say, but you only will enjoy it after you've already taken care of the moment. Trust me, the team will be prepared. They're already, getting ready, to play the game. So the preparation is there. Now all you have to do is just apply all the things you've learned, because you're going to be prepared. Just go out there. But how do you do that? Is by staying in the moment and enjoying the situation where you are. I mean, I can just think, I can think back all the times I'm sitting there playing, you're in the huddle, you break the huddle, you're like, yeah, where's better than being here, right now. I can't wait. Let's go, guys. And you always hear Ohio State talk about the brotherhood. And it's not just a slogan. It's really real. It really is real. And when you experience it, you have it for the rest of your life. I mean, you break the huddle with 11 guys, but it's more than that on the field with you. You look in the stands. Ohio State travels well, even though the fans will be limited. They are with you. Your game is on television. Trust me, there is not a feeling in the world that can simulate knowing the world is watching. Everybody is watching the bowl games, especially these games. And you're like, man, I'm getting to do this. Every play you make, it's going to be etched in somebody's mind, good, bad, or indifferent. But that's what you live for. That's what you want to do. You're prepared to do that. These guys, they've dreamed about it. Watching these games on television. I want to do that one day. I want to do that one day. You're doing it right now. You're doing it right now. You're getting to play in the Sugar Bowl at age 20, 21, 19, 18, 22, 23, whatever your age is, but you're a college kid playing in the Sugar Bowl. What is better than that on that Friday night when the ball kicks off? I wish I could be in the locker room with it. I wish I could be strapping up shoulder pads. But Ryan Day's job is to, get that message to the team. I'm sure he's going to, but he has to get them to focus on it and forget about what happened in 2019. 2020 is what's more important. And then that clock ticks down on Friday night, because I'm going to be watching it. I'll be watching it by myself. I have to watch it by myself. My wife will be coming in another room, but I'll be watching it. And then when that clock goes 3, 2, 1, 0, you're going to hear a loud explosion in my house. I'm going to be screaming, and I'm going to be excited because I believe the Buckeyes are going to win the football game. I believe they're going to win the football game, and you'll do the same, and we'll be back, next week, talking about all the good things we just experienced. But it's a joy, to be a fan of, of college football, of sports. And that's how we're going to end the year, with a big win. Well, it's going to start the year off for Ohio State, because that's going to be January 1. So you guys take care of your team, send them good vibrations, but let's start 2021 on a high note. Because 2020 has been a year, it was like a blindside block. You didn't see it coming. But, you get hit hard. You get up and you go back and you do it again. You don't stay down. It's okay to get knocked down. We've all have been knocked down in 2020. We've all had family or friends affected with coronavirus. This year in this pandemic has been. We a lot of people couldn't even spell pandemic this time last year. That wasn't a word in our vocabularies that we use. Well, let's remember 2020 for the year that it was, and let's look forward to 2021. And what better way to look forward to that with a big win on Friday night in the Sugar Bowl. And how about 2 more wins on Sunday between the Browns and the Bengals? Y'all go get wins in your season for the Bengals on a high note. And if you're a Cleveland Brown fan, continue your season, because if you win, you'll play again next week. You've been listening to the Keith Byars radio show presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken live here in the studio. I'll still be here a few more minutes, after the show off there. So feel free to come out North Main Street here in Dayton. Thank you. God bless, and random acts of kindness to your fellow man. Happy New Year.
It's the Keith Byars Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, right here on Dayton's home of the Buckeyes, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Our biggest storage event just got stronger. The Store More, Save More event going on now at the Home Depot. Get exclusive HDX black and yellow tough totes starting at just $4.98. They're heavy duty, durable, and come in a range of sizes from 7 to 70 gallons. So whether you need to store a little or store a lot, you're going to save loads. Make room for big savings at the Store More, Save More event going on now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Limited time only. Event and dates vary by store. See store for details.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold? Medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Save on all of your home improvement projects with Menards. From framing and roofing of Metabo HPT air nailers to choose from to help you get the job done. The 18-gauge pneumatic brad nailer is ideal for trim work, furniture building, and other finish applications. Stop waiting and start saving now at Menards. Prices are good through January 2nd.
Save big money at Menards.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring for brand new home daily dedicated lanes. Earn up to $1,620 per week. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, vision, company paid life insurance. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
Oh, what? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Mary's Bistro delivery business is bustling and ready to burst.
Orders 34, 35, and 36 are up. Who's handling these? Hello, Mary's Bistro, now delivering.
It's time to hire.
I need Indeed.
Indeed, you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Indeed delivers 2.5 times more hires than the other branded job sites combined, according to Breezy HR 2019. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get a $75 credit for your first job post.
Is the cost of finishing the basement worth the benefit of some peace and quiet? When questions find you, Merrill Edge Self-Directed Investing can help you find answers with personalized planning tools and insights to help you get where you want to go, even if it's just downstairs. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/withinreach to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated. Registered broker-dealer, member SIPC. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're going to go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You got to dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Listen to this radio station on the radio.com app. Discover and enjoy your favorite music, news, and talk radio from live stations across the country. Listen anywhere on all mobile and home devices with the radio.com app.
Make sure your family doesn't have a fever by taking their temperatures both before dinner and in the morning. Stay safe with the Exergen Temporal Scanner, the #1 preferred thermometer of pediatricians.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Listen, stream, and now watch. Don't miss the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays at 3 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER and ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Into the end zone goes Chris Olave. A.J. Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Was the scouting report, right?
That's the truth. He went to the same high school as the kids.
Right, exactly. So Jay Gruden, who was the head coach at the time for Washington last year, what's he going to say? What's he going to do? Washington has a tumultuous, brutal offseason in which they need to make changes. Here comes Ron Rivera. Very well respected amongst his peers, amongst players, amongst everybody in the NFL. And he's there to clean it up. And my theory is that he came in and he told Snyder he doesn't want Haskins. And Snyder said, well, Haskins is the guy. So I think the only way Rivera was going to take that job was if he was eventually going to have control over the quarterback situation. I'm guessing that there was probably a discussion that we'll go with Haskins early, but if he doesn't get it done and he doesn't show the work ethic, we're going to move on. So they gave him a chance early in the season, and then they moved away from him. This guy has now been benched for Kyle Allen, Alex Smith, and Taylor Heinicke in the same season. This guy only played 13 games. He only started 13 games before he was cut by Washington. Jamarcus Russell started 25 games in his NFL career. He barely made it to the halfway point of the Jamarcus Russell career, which is widely regarded by many as the biggest draft bust in NFL history. So I still give Washington credit. They got 1 week to go to get into the playoffs. I think this is going to be a huge positive for the locker room moving forward in a game against a Philadelphia team that has literally no motivation to go out and win on Sunday night because they're the only team in the division, Matt Jones, that's been eliminated from the playoffs.
It's Greeny here on ESPN Radio, Matt Jones and Joe Fortenbaugh. I find the football team, just as an organization, to be so inept. And it's interesting you mentioned Ron Rivera because he is so well respected across the league. He may be one of the most respected figures in football, not just what he's been through personally, but the success he had in Carolina as a player, et cetera. And yet he is sandwiched by people at the top and his players by folks that seem like completely inept. The owner is in such I don't know that you can have success in Washington with Daniel Snyder as the owner. He is having so many off-the-field problems, much more serious than the fact that the team's not playing well. And so he's got him as his boss, and then below him a quarterback there are all these issues. But I just am amazed. You kept saying the word toxic. How toxic do you have to be that you can't even hold them for one more week? I mean, what if Taylor Heinicke gets hurt and Alex Smith can't go? Who's playing then? I mean, at that point, you are so rid of this guy, you don't even want him in that scenario. I would be interested to see if there's ever been a scenario in the NFL, and I can't think of it, maybe somebody can, where you started a week, the next week is for the playoffs, a huge game, and you're off the team. And yet, we don't know anything that happened in between those two instances. Whatever it was that sort of led them to let him go happened before they chose to start him. Joe, I can't understand. It would be so hard to be a fan of the football team. I mean, you get a great name now. You're the football.
God bless them. God bless those people for rooting
how
for
could
them.
you do it? Because every week it seems like it's embarrassing even more than it was the last one.
Hire good people and let them do their job. right? It's not that difficult to hire good people. We see that happen around professional sports all the time. The problem is whether or not the owners can let them do their job. Snyder can't stay out of the way. The Haskins pick and everything in between with Robert Griffin III and the Shanahan family when they were there coaching, he couldn't get out of the way. It didn't work. Jerry Jones, he can hire good people, but he cannot get out of the way in Dallas. And
what's the last great moment, Joe? I mean, like, if you're a football team fan, what's the last moment of happiness that you've had? Is it the first year of RG3? Is that probably?
You were 14-0 up on the Seahawks in the wild card game. And I want to say 2012 when Mike Shanahan was a coach, Kyle Shanahan was the OC. Sean McVay was on that staff. Like, think about how loaded that staff was. You had a 14-0 lead on Seattle. Griffin got hurt and you blew the lead. That was probably the last great moment for the Washington football team. And by great, we're using a very loose definition here.
I've always thought it's one thing to have a tortured fan base where you never have success, like, say, the Detroit Lions. You know, somebody that's just, they're just used. Part of being a fan is knowing that they're always going to stink. But when you're a franchise that you know has had success, that you've experienced that, and then it goes away, sort of like in college Indiana basketball or Nebraska football. Like, you used to feel this, and now it's been ripped, and you wonder how it'll ever come back. I don't know how you do that, but maybe somebody that can help us understand is Kimberly Martin. She is ESPN's NFL writer and reporter based in Washington, in the Washington area. And Kimberly, with this news, you were one of the first people I saw to report it. Did anything happen between the game yesterday and today that made this situation untenable, or was this all based on things that happened prior to the game?
I think a lot more is going to come out this week, but as somebody, I'm not based in Washington, but I did cover the Washington team for the Washington Post a few years ago. So I know this franchise, and Ron Rivera is somebody who you got to watch his actions and not necessarily what he says to the media. And this whole week was an example of how to ruin your NFL career in a matter of days. I think it's the cumulative effect of not just what transpired this week, but I think this was almost like the final straw. What we had with the second COVID violation from Dwayne Haskins, you know, he previously had a COVID violation, and it's just the behind the scenes. Is this kid working hard? Does this kid understand what it takes to be an NFL quarterback? Does this, and I don't want to call him a kid in a disparaging way. He's 23 years old, but does this first round pick understand what's at stake? Is he self-aware? And I think there were a lot, when you talk to people in the building and around the league, you didn't get the sense that it was clicking, even though Dwayne Haskins was having conversations, whether it be with Doug Williams or whether it be with other people in the organization, that he didn't understand everything that was at stake. And here's a team in this division that could make the playoffs still. And he's, you know, not wearing a mask at this birthday party for his girlfriend. He's playing poorly. He's, you know, his demeanor within the huddle, his demeanor behind the scenes. I think this was just finally the last straw where, you know, we knew Dwayne Haskins' time in Washington was going to be short-lived. I don't think we expected that he would be cut today, a day after trying to win a potential playoff clinching game. But here we are.
Kimberly, so what's the plan Sunday against Philadelphia? It's the final game of the day, the Sunday night game. It's a win and in scenario for Washington. The fact that they were willing to cut Haskins today on Monday, does that mean Alex Smith might be closer to returning?
It does not. It means that Washington and Ron Rivera are very hopeful. It is wishful thinking. I don't want to say it's wishful thinking. They are hopeful on Monday that we get through the week and that Alex will say, hey, my calf is good to go. They were waiting up until Sunday morning yesterday. And I spoke to Ron Rivera before the game. It was a 4:00 game. And I spoke to him around 9:30 yesterday morning and asked him, had he made the decision on the starter? And he was still hoping Alex would be able to go. But really and truthfully, as the week went on, there was less and less optimism about Alex's sore right calf. So, you know, and that's to the point where Alex could barely move around on the field and start in the game, but they were still hoping he could be the guy instead of Haskins. Now, Haskins is out the picture, and Ron Rivera announced earlier this morning that Taylor Heineke, who replaced Dwayne Haskins yesterday, would be the starter. if Alex is unable to go in this very crucial win or go home scenario against Philly.
It's Greeny here on ESPN Radio. Joe Fortenbaugh, Matt Jones talking to Kimberly Martin, ESPN's NFL writer. I'll get you out with this. Is there? I still don't understand totally how after you start him yesterday, you let him go today. But is it the case that there was sort of, for lack of a better word, toxicity with him that you just couldn't have him in the locker room, Dwayne Haskins, before such a big game Sunday?
Toxicity, that I haven't heard about toxicity, but I think what the frustration is here is the stakes are so high for this team. Given everything this team has been through from a COVID situation, we all have been through with COVID restrictions, Ron Rivera's cancer treatment. It's just that lack of self-awareness, that understanding of I am the leader of this team. I have to sacrifice. You know, his former teammates from Ohio State, Chase Young, Terry McLaurin, all these guys are younger than him, and these guys understand what needs to happen, what they need to do, how to be professional. And here you have a quarterback who you can't necessarily trust, even in a game and behind the scenes to do what needs to be done. So I think, I don't want to label it toxicity, but I just think if you're going to have your franchise rely on this guy, he needs to be somebody that you can trust to make wise decisions. And to this point, Dwayne Haskins has not proven himself to be that guy.
Kimberly Martin, ESPN's NFL reporter. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. Greeny is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who save with Progressive save over $750 on average, which is awesome. What wasn't awesome yesterday, Joe, was the performance of the Kansas City Chiefs. I have a rule. I try to never gamble on the Falcons games either way, because whatever happens will completely disappoint you no matter what side you pick. And so on paper, that looked like the easiest game in the world for the Chiefs. Of course they're going to win. They're at home and they're playing the Falcons, who have nothing to play for. And then Falcons had many chances to win. It was probably Patrick Mahomes' worst performance of the last 2 years, maybe. Do you think it's a big deal, or is it just a one-off thing that when you play the Falcons, the world is going to be weird?
Well, you got to ask yourself, is it the Falcons game we're concerned with, or is it the fact that over the last few weeks, Kansas City hasn't looked like the Kansas City that we remember blowing people out early in the season and last season? This team has failed to cover the point spread in 6 straight games. So there are gamblers out there who are looking at them thinking, you got backdoored against Miami, you got backdoored against Tampa Bay. You guys aren't bringing down the curtain the way you used to. So there's some concern there. But ultimately, let's do a quick comparison and ask ourselves, is there really anything to be concerned about with this football team? Last year, the Super Bowl year, they went 12-4. Right now, they're 14-1, and they're on a 10-game winning streak. All right. Last year, they beat opponents by an average of 8.9 points per game. This year, they're beating the opposition by an average of 8.5 points per game. Last year, they were +8 in turnover differential. This year, they're +7 in turnover differential.
But last year, Joe, all those stats got better as the year went on. This year, the stats have all gotten worse. Does that matter?
I'll give you a stat. 10 straight wins. 10 straight wins. That's the stat. That's the thing I'm focused on, because lesser teams in these tight games, the game that got blown against Tampa Bay late, the game against Miami that got really dicey, yesterday's game against Atlanta, the lesser teams in the NFL find ways to lose those games. Look at Cleveland. Look at the Rams last week against the Jets. Those teams find ways to lose, whereas Kansas City, while it's not pretty, it's not a Van Gogh, they still find ways to win. And that's why I still have the utmost confidence in them. Because once they get to the playoffs, I'm assuming they're just going to take their game up another level because they've been there. Maybe that's a false assumption. Maybe I'm getting into dangerous territory with that. But they've won 10 straight. They're 14-1. Only a team like that could be criticized because they're not doing it in as pretty a fashion as they have in the past.
But the last team we criticized like that was Baltimore, and in the playoffs, that ended up being correct. We did this same thing with Baltimore. People would point out that they weren't playing as well towards the end of the year, and then folks would go, but look at their record, it's going to be fine, and then the playoffs came and all those weaknesses showed up. What surprised me yesterday, Joe, was how much Patrick Mahomes made mistakes, how often, that he never makes. I mean, I find him to be maybe the most compelling figure right now in sports because I just can't take my eyes off of him when he plays. But he was making basic throws that were poor that he hasn't really done in the last 2 years. Now, I don't think he's all of a sudden forgotten how to play football, but there is something different. The same thing happened against Miami. It's the same. It doesn't click. Used to be to beat Kansas City, you had to do what the Raiders did. You had to score 40 points. Atlanta almost won by scoring 14. That is different, isn't it?
It's a fair criticism. I would say that in a situation like this, I'd be more inclined to defer to what I've seen from him over the last few years, an MVP, a Super Bowl, and everything in between, than I would to look at yesterday's performance and say something might be wrong. I think a guy like him is entitled to a bad game, which is what yesterday was. It was not a very good game for Patrick Mahomes, but Mahomes has done so much over the last few years. Look at the standard we hold him to. Mahomes has joined that Kobe Bryant, LeBron James type of rarefied air where the slightest statistical drop in production is going to have all of us on the radio and on TV and in the newspapers questioning whether or not something's wrong. Nothing's wrong, just a bad game. He's a human being. But because we've watched him be otherworldly, superhuman over the last 3 years, this is a surprise to us.
It's definitely a surprise to me. I mean, there were 2 interceptions he threw, which I've never seen him throw interceptions like that before, where he just didn't see a guy or there was somebody he did. That's just not Patrick Mahomes. And I don't know if it means anything, but it is a little different. If the Chiefs have a weakness, we'll answer more about it next. But first, I need to tell you something. If you're a business owner, you don't need us to tell you that running a business is tough, but you might be making it harder on yourself than necessary. So don't let spreadsheets slow you down anymore. It's time to upgrade to NetSuite. Stop paying for multiple systems that don't give you the information you need when you need it. Ditch those spreadsheets and all that old software. Now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. It's everything you need in one place instantaneously. So please join, whether you're doing $1 million or hundreds of millions in revenue. Save time and money with NetSuite. Join me and over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now, and let NetSuite show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour at netsuite.com/greeny. That's netsuite.com/greeny. Schedule your free product tour right now. netsuite.com/greeny. netsuite.com/greeny. I'm so excited. I just keep saying it because I just want to have that netsuite.com/greeny. More on the Chiefs next here on Greeny on ESPN Radio.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin.
Nobody would ever admit it was about the money, but clearly, without you even saying anything, you have admitted it's about the money.
Followed by Greeny with Mike Greenberg.
Get out of Tom Brady's way
and let him take you where he naturally belongs.
Your all-new ESPN Radio morning. GJNC at 6 Eastern, followed by Greeny at 10 Eastern. Beginning Tuesday on ESPN Radio.
Hello, everybody. You're looking live at Fansville, a college football utopia. Fansville. Where the rivers flow with ice-cold Dr. Pepper. Delicious. Where every day is Saturday and everyone's a fan. Even babies. Fan babies. And the seasons never change because the only season is college football season. Get a taste of Fansville this fall during a college football game near you. Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. Grab some today.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Buonasera.
Buonasera. How can I make the most of waiting for my next big vacation?
Translate your questions into goals by investing with Merrill Edge Self-Directed. It's more accessible than you think, with helpful planning tools plus free online stock and ETF trades, so you can keep practicing your pronunciation. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/withinreach to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated. Registered broker-dealer, members IPC. Other fees may apply. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
No break in the clouds as temps fall through the day. Mostly cloudy and breezy tonight. The temp will continue to drop into the low 20s. We'll see sunshine tomorrow with a high in the mid to upper 30s. I'm John Bailey for 1410 ESPN Radio.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, and though this year may look different than others, we are reminded of what matters most. Family, friends, our wonderful guests, and dedicated team members who have been on the front lines this past year. We are forever grateful for all of your support. This holiday season, for every $50 you purchase in Roosters gift cards, you will receive a $10 Roosters bonus buck to treat yourself or pay it forward. From all of us here at Roosters, we wish you a very safe and healthy holiday season.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring for brand new home daily dedicated lanes. Earn up to $1,620 per week. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, vision, company paid life insurance. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com.
O'Reilly. Get professional tools this holiday season from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. We have hand tools and gift sets starting at just $7.99. Choose from hex bits, pliers, wrenches, socket sets, and more, all with a lifetime guarantee. Or make your holiday giving even easier with gift cards from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stop by or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You're ready to get back into yoga, so you order the essentials: a non-slip mat, yoga blocks to keep balance, and an exercise ball. And you use your Bank of America Cash Rewards credit card, choosing to earn 3% cash back on online shopping and up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member, which you put towards your most essential yoga gear. Noise-canceling headphones.
Welcome. Take a deep breath. Breathe.
Apply for yours at bankofamerica.com/more-rewarding. Copyright 2020 Bank of America Corporation.
Is the cost of finishing the basement worth the benefit of some peace and quiet?
When questions find you, Merrill Edge Self-Directed Investing can help you find answers with personalized planning tools and insights to help you get where you want to go, even if it's just downstairs. Merrill, a Bank of America company. Visit merrilledge.com/withinreach to get started today.
Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated. Registered broker-dealer, member SIPC. Investment products are not FDIC insured or not bank guaranteed and may lose value.
O'Reilly. When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Listening to this Allstate commercial about savings might be the hardest thing about getting those savings. Save for simply becoming an Allstate customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. Allstate. Minimum effort, maximum reward.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your car insurance with Right Track, which rewards you for safe driving.
As the world's most careful driver, that's perfect. Now apply 2 pounds of force for acceleration. You really turning in 0.3 miles and begin a deceleration.
With Liberty Mutual's Right Track, you could earn up to 30% savings based on how you drive. Sign up at libertymutual.com/righttrack.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Discount on participating vehicles, base coverages only. Availability varies.
Every home needs a reliable thermometer for twice-a-day temperature readings. Protect your family with the Exergen Temporal Scanner, the only home thermometer used by hospitals, physicians, and clinics.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now. Good luck.
90-day money-back guarantee available for finesse to ride only. Subscription required. See website for full details and important safety information.
Maybe you've noticed thinning hair. Maybe you're wondering if you'll inherit your dad's bald spot. It doesn't have to be destiny. With Hims, you can get doctor-trusted treatment to tackle your hair loss sent right to your door. Just answer some questions online and get connected with a licensed medical provider to figure out what's right for you. And when you go to forhims.com/growth, you can get that first expert consultation for free. Hims has everything from Luxe thickening shampoo to FDA-approved, clinically proven prescription pills to help stop loss and even regrow hair.
If prescribed, it's shipped right to you. No waiting weeks for an appointment, no pharmacies, no trying to figure out what actually works alone. Get years of confidence for less than $1 per day. Get your free visit at forhims.com/growth. If you're not happy with the results in 90 days, Hims can give you a full refund. Go to forhims.com/growth for your free visit. forhims.com/growth.
Unhappy at your job? You don't really have a career, you have a job, or maybe you're out of work altogether? Listen to me. You can start a new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months from the comfort of your own home, even if you have zero computer experience. Sound too good to be true? Go to mycomputercareer.edu. Take the free career evaluation today. Live online classes, meet just twice a week, financial aid, including the GI Bill.
This is Sports
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news, quarterback Dwayne Haskins' Washington tenure is over. ESPN's Adam Schefter and Kimberly Martin reporting the team has released Haskins. He twice was caught breaking COVID-19 protocols this season, was benched in yesterday's loss. Coach Ron Rivera earlier today said Taylor Heineke will play in Sunday's NFC East Division deciding game against the Eagles if Alex Smith cannot return from injury. NBA Nets guard Spencer Dinwiddie has a partially torn right ACL, scheduled to have surgery next week. He is expected to miss an extended amount of time. Meanwhile, Brooklyn's Kevin Durant out tonight against Memphis to rest on the second leg of a back-to-back.
Hiring is challenging, especially with everything else you have to consider today. But there's one place where hiring is simple, fast, and smart. That place is ZipRecruiter. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Greeny. That's ZipRecruiter.com/GREENY. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Dwayne Haskins' career in Washington already over after less than 2 years. It's Greeny on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, presented by Progressive Insurance. I'm Matt Jones. Joe Fortenbaugh joins me. We are filling in for Greeny, and we are now happy to be joined by a friend of mine, my former co-host, Jeff Schwartz, with the aptly named host of the podcast, Jeff Schwartz is Smarter Than You, which I can't even imagine a better podcast name for Jeff Schwartz. But Jeff, I appreciate you coming on, and I'll start with Dwayne Haskins news. Were you surprised that the Washington football team started yesterday, they cut today?
No, because I feel like he would have been cut last week if they knew that he was worse than Tyler Herlinsky. They wanted him to play because they're in the battle for the division, right? And they can still win it, obviously, with Alex Smith coming back healthy this week. They needed him to win, and that's what supersedes sometimes personnel decisions. But it was very clear that he's not the guy, and they got rid of him. And it feels like this is more of a decision based off the field issues than on the field. Now, he's not been terribly great on the field either, but he's a first round draft pick. Most of those guys at least get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chances on their current team before they get released. So not surprising. Hope he takes this as a good wake-up call, and he'll be on a roster next year, but I don't know if he'll ever really be a starter yet.
The Kansas City Chiefs are 14-1. They've won 10 consecutive games, most recently of which a 17-14 survival against the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday. Are you at all concerned about this team once they get to the postseason, because they're winning, Jeff, but they're not winning big like we're used to seeing?
Yeah, and you know this as well as I do. 7 straight games they've not covered, right? 7 straight games under 6 points margin of victory. And here's what worries me about the Chiefs. Oh, yes, they're 14-1. I get that. They're number 1 seed and whatnot. But if you look at last season at the end of the year, they were ascending, right? They were blowing teams out. They won games 49, 23-3, 31-21. They beat still a good Patriots defense up in New England at the last month of the season. They were kind of going up. They were ascending. I feel like right now, especially if you look at the numbers, they're kind of descending. Their offense is kind of plateaued and gone worse, actually. Defensively, they do enough to make things interesting, but they're kind of descending right now. And I do worry that when you look at other teams across the AFC, the Buffalo Bills are going to play tonight. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the second half of that game, We're seeing teams in that conference ascend a little bit. We're seeing the Green Bay Packers ascending right now, and the Chiefs really aren't. And the thought process is obviously, they could just turn on the playoffs. Okay, but they've had opportunities to do that in the regular season and haven't done it either. So I think it's tough just to say, hey, let's just turn it on. Remember, there's only been one back-to-back Super Bowl winner in the last 18, 20 years, right? Which is the Patriots, in 03 and 04. It's really hard to win Super Bowls back-to-back years. And I'd be a little bit concerned if I was a Chiefs fan. They still have Pat Mahomes, so that's, you always have that ace, but it's not the same as last season.
Talking to former NFL offensive lineman Jeff Schwartz. Jeff, you and I used to always debate back and forth about Josh Allen. I mostly just to screw around with you, would say I loved him, and you would get frustrated, and we always had Josh Allen fights. But now Josh Allen looks to be better than even I would have assumed. And you're right, the Bills seem to be playing as well as anyone. How good is Josh Allen? And more importantly, is he the kind of guy that can take a team to the Super Bowl?
Yes, Josh Allen has been historically great as far as his improvement from year 2 to year 3. And the people, and I know you joke with me about it, just kind of push my buttons. But the people that really thought they'd see this version of Josh Allen it was just thoughts and prayers, because this ascension has not been done in NFL history. There's not been someone who was below average for 2 straight years, below replacement with the advanced numbers, and then in year 3, really any point in his career, became an MVP candidate. I mean, Josh Allen has played that well this season to where he'll be considered an MVP candidate. Now, can he win playoff games? Sure, but we got to kind of see it first. Bills have not won a playoff game in 25 years. I get it. Different team. But the Chiefs also didn't win a home playoff game for like 25 years. Like it becomes a sting. Like, you have to get over the stigma. They're going to be asked all week, not obviously this weekend, but next weekend, can they win? Can they win? Can they win? Can they win? And if they see Baltimore in the first round, I wouldn't want to play Baltimore right now. Like, that to me feels like the team that no one wants to play in the AFC. Matt, the 2 quarterbacks that I most debated last year.
Yeah, I mean, those are your 2 guys, right? Lamar and Josh Allen.
Yeah.
What do you even do in that game?
I root for a tie in a playoff game. A team who kind of came out of nowhere and just went through the playoffs and won. The Niners a little bit, I guess, last year. It's just hard in your first year of being good to just run the table, especially when Kansas City's in your way. And so I just think, take one playoff win at a time if you're a Buffalo fan, and keep stacking them up and go to Kansas City and try to beat them in the AFC title game.
You mentioned MVP candidates after what Aaron Rodgers did to the Tennessee Titans last night on Sunday Night Football in a standalone game in front of the entire world. Is the MVP award this season his to lose?
Yeah, I think he's already won it. I mean, Pat Mahomes is not going to play this weekend. Andy Reid routinely rests his starters in Week 17 when he has a division or a playoff spot secured. And so I wouldn't see Pat this weekend. And obviously the last we saw, and look, Pat, it's really fun. His worst games are above average for quarterbacks. It's pretty remarkable. Until yesterday, game of his career where he played pretty bad. He just missed throws and he threw interceptable passes that weren't picked off. I mean, it was not good. So that was the last thought we've seen of him. And again, even his bad games this year are above average, like for quarterbacks. It's incredible. He's an incredible player. But Rodgers, you mentioned it last night in the snow, carved up a Titans defense that's not good, but still a playoff team. And I think this weekend, too, he has to beat the Bears, right? And the Bears present a challenge a little bit on defense. So I think Rodgers is easily the MVP this year. And look, no MVPs will won the Super Bowl. So if you're a Chiefs fan or you're a Saints fan, maybe it's better that he won the MVP.
It's Greeny on ESPN Radio. Matt Jones, Joe Fortenbaugh, talking to Jeff Schwartz, host of the Jeff Schwartz is Smarter Than You podcast. I want to ask you about the Cleveland Browns. That's another team that you and I have debated a lot, and Baker Mayfield specifically. You know, that he's a guy who also looked like he was having a little bit of a redemption story this year. And then in a game that a lot is on the line, you can even still win the division when they kicked off. They lose to the Jets, a team that is almost trying to lose in some ways. Is it just another Browns collapse, another reason not to believe in Baker Mayfield, or do you think they can bounce back from that and still make some noise? Did we lose him? I guess we lost him. So that question I'll ask to you then, Joe.
What was your position? What was your
my position is they lost. Listen, they lost four wide receivers for that game, and that's a big deal. But at the same time, it's the Jets, and if it's the Jets, if you're going to do anything, if you're even going to matter a little bit in the playoffs, you've got to win. And now we've seen two teams back to back with the Rams and the Browns, who all they need to do to make their playoff goals happen is beat the Jets. Both teams haven't done it. I can't help but think that makes them, just absolute chokers if you lose to the Jets when the playoffs are on the line.
Much more challenging spot, I would say, for the Browns than the Rams. The Rams were double-digit favorites. They were at home. They weren't dealing with the COVID problem that Cleveland was dealing with. But let me throw another question your way. Baker Mayfield had 3 fumbles in yesterday's game, most notably at the end where they had a chance to get back in it. He's at the end of year 3, which means he's eligible for a contract extension this offseason. If you're Cleveland, would you give him that big extension?
I think you got to. I don't know. I mean, my question on all of these decisions about quarterbacks is, do I know I can get someone better? I mean, and at the end of the day, I don't think I know that. Plus, unless things collapse, like really collapse, all the other 4 teams win and they lose, they're going to make the playoffs. And listen, that's a franchise that hasn't been to the playoffs in forever. You got to go back with him. But I will say this, I wouldn't be confident that I think he's going to be my quarterback in 10 years, but I don't know that you have another choice.
I'd wait one more year because you pick up the option. You have the 5th year, which means you have at least 2 seasons, and you also have the franchise tag under your belt. I'd wait one more year before I'd consider the idea of giving him between $35 and $40 million a year, because that's what it's going to cost based on the current quarterback market. I want to see one more year out of Mayfield.
So you think if he went on the open market, there is a franchise that would pay that?
I think that's what they would have to pay. If you're going to give him that deal, that's what they would have to pay. Now, if he gets to the open market, he's probably going to have multiple suitors, so he could put himself in a situation where he gets 3, 4, say $35 million a year, 3 at $105 million. You get something like that. You get a Kirk Cousins type deal, I'd have to imagine, because he has progressed. But I think they still want to see more out of him. Yesterday was one of those days where he could have made the players around him better. That's what the all-time greats do. Manning makes everyone around him better. Mayfield was in a tough spot. He was unable to pull the team through. That's all right. It happens. But the great ones make those around them better.
And 4th and 1, you can't fumble that ball. You just can't. I mean, you just can't. Even if it's your own guy hitting you, you just can't. 30 for 30 podcast now present March 11th, 2020. I'm sure you remember that day. It was a transformational one for the country. And this is a standalone documentary that tells the story of the day the NBA shut down and the pandemic became real for many Americans. It's told by those who lived the events of the day, and it's built entirely with exclusive interviews and footage, including with Rudy Gobert and Dr. Anthony Fauci. It's March 11th, 2020, tells the story of a day that started in one reality and ended in a new one. 30 for 30 podcast, March 11th, 2020. Subscribe and listen now wherever you get your podcast. Football was the big story all weekend, but I saw a better attraction, a bigger attraction, an attraction that kept my eyes all the time. That's next on Greeny on ESPN Radio.
From Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin.
Ohio State ain't no bigger than USC. We on the same level, if not better.
Right into Greeny with Mike Greenberg.
The idea that 13 people watch the games and say, in my opinion, that team is better than that team, so they're going regardless of who on what is stupid.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin at 6 Eastern, followed by Greeny at 10 Eastern. Coming January 5th to ESPN Radio.
Whether you rent or own, Geico makes it easy to bundle home and car insurance. Go to geico.com today.
Guys, waking up over and over to pee is not okay. But now, you can reduce those nighttime bathroom trips with the ingredients in Super Beta Prostate P3 Advanced. We're talking about less urges to pee at night, less bathroom trips during the day, and better bladder emptying. It's like taking 3 prostate supplements in one. You can try a full 30-day bottle of P3 Advanced, free. Just cover shipping and handling, and a free bottle will be conveniently shipped to your door. No strings attached and no commitments to buy. Call 1-800-491-5123 Super Beta Prostate is the best-selling brand in major retailers like Walmart. But for this no-strings-attached free bottle, you must call now. Call 1-800-491-5123. Agents are standing by to take your call for this unprecedented free offer. Call 1-800-491-5123. 1-800-491-5123.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vic ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hey, Sam, back from your date so soon?
It didn't exactly go well. I really struggle with communication, trust, lack of commitment. At this rate, I'll be a single mom forever.
Maybe you should check out if you qualify for the free classes offered at Marriage Works Ohio. They have TANF funds for people over 18 with a child at home or pregnant. You may qualify as a single mom. They help married couples and singles with healthy relationship classes, including topics like dating. Go to trustmarriage.com or call 937-262-7010 to register.
There's no place like home for the holidays. And when it comes to home style, there's no place like Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken with our 8-piece meal for only $19.99. Get the taste of home that's ready in a hurry with 8 mixed pieces of our famous recipe chicken, 2 large sides, and 4 fluffy biscuits. With Lee's, treating your family to a home style meal is easier than ever. Get a sit-down meal made easy with our 8-piece meal for only $19.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
You have empty office space to fill. You know what you need, and you know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places that what you need and what you'd like, that might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week there's something new. If you need office furniture, Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half price and below manufacturer's suggested prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really. Desks from $50 to $5,000. File cabinets, $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Outlet. With 87,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. 2 locations. One at 23 McOil Street, Dayton. The other, Uniques Unlimited on South Dixie. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Saturday, 10 to 4.
My name is Kate Courtney, and this is my new show, Can You Survive This Podcast? I'll be drawing on my years as a former Navy SEAL platoon commander, sniper, and CIA contractor. The show is designed to teach you techniques that will increase your chances of survival if you happen to find yourself or your family in any life-threatening disaster scenario imaginable. Subscribe and listen for free on Spotify. Can You Survive This Podcast?
If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Get quality candidates delivered from Indeed's resume database immediately when you upgrade your job post. Learn more at Indeed.com/credit.
He's a former Buckeyes great and now a college football Hall of Famer. And don't forget about his 13 years of NFL experience playing for the Eagles, Dolphins, Jets, and the New England Patriots. He's Dayton's own Keith Byars. Hang out with him every Monday at noon on the Keith Byars Show, presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken.
Are you ready for the start of the NFL playoffs? Ready for can't mix, high stakes, win go home matchups featuring the NFL's best teams and some of the league's biggest stars? Are you ready for a mega cast featuring 360-degree coverage, getting you inside the game like never before? Are you ready for NFL Wildcard Weekend? Starts January 9th on ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN Deportes, and Freeform.
Keyshawn Johnson.
You hate to see where coaches become real slick with their tongues, and I hated it as a player. That's why I was always one to fire back.
He knows the NFL.
Patrick Mahomes won one so far. He's headed in the right direction.
And the NFL knows him.
Early in his career, so you can't say he's the greatest of all time. This is only his third year as a starter.
Get inside the NFL with Keyshawn J. Will and Zubin every morning starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.
One app, one tap, that's that. One swipe, one slide, send it back. One app running with elite QBs. Russell got the cannon throwing clutch TDs. Lillard crossing over, step behind the line. Ain't no need to watch the clock, cause you know it's dang time. Yeah. You know what? One app with the 30 for 30. 2-finger push-ups, Bruce Lee showing no mercy. Fat Five got the crew on deck. That's the lead bow nose OG dual threat. Yeah. No one else goes deeper, that's a fact. One slide, one tap, it's the ESPN app. Download now.
The Max Kellerman Show.
Cam got up there and he said, it's not my call, it's coach's call. I have to work on getting better. That's right. Yes, he does. He knows it. Cam's been around the block. He's been a league MVP. Not an almost MVP who then got hurt and someone else won the Super Bowl. Not a guy who the next season brought, like the team was just flat with him.
The Max Kellerman Show, weekdays at 2 Eastern on ESPN Radio. And now, watch exclusively on ESPN Plus.
Sends it over to Durant. Catch and shoot three on its way and in. Goes the line, shoots a three. Steph Curry is back. Luka Doncic willing Dallas back into game 6. Shot from three is good. Jimmy Butler. Giannis in the open floor. Stuffed with the right hand. Simmons keeps around right. Kyrie Irving. Kawhi Leonard. Huge bucket for Harden.
And I want my damn respect too.
The NBA is back.
The NBA is back. I spent a lot of time on the weekend watching it and became fascinated by one man. It's Greeny on ESPN Radio. Matt Jones, Joe Fortenbaugh. Greeny is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who save with Progressive save over $750 on average. Joe, I watched a lot of a late game on Saturday night, Portland and Houston, mainly because it was a great game. Went to double overtime. Awesome finish down the stretch. But James Harden, to me, is the most fascinating player right now in the NBA. The reason is, first of all, he causes all this drama. He goes and sees, I guess, a little baby, and you got all you're in Vegas, all this stuff. Then he comes on the court for his first game, having practiced, twice leading up to it. He is out of shape, and I'm saying that to be nice, but out of shape. And he comes out, and he is unstoppable. He is just as unstoppable as he's been, maybe even more so, because with his extra weight, he is even when he goes to the basket, he's even harder to stop, making step back threes. They ended up losing the game. But James Harden is a fascinating player. I don't know that there's anybody else like him that we've ever seen. I'm not sure you can win a title with him, but in terms of just watching a man play, I cannot take my eyes off James Harden, especially now with his sort of extra weight and the way he is just impossible to stop.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want about Harden's relationship with the Houston Rockets, Harden's approach to this 2020-2021 season, Harden's contract. You can make any comments you want whatsoever. But when he steps out on the court, no matter what he looks like, no matter what's happened in the buildup, he comes to play. That is an unequivocal fact. In that game against Portland, which you talked about, we all saw him take the court. Maybe he did look a little bit out of shape. It's been an offseason of drama. 44 points, 17 assists, 6 of 13 from deep. And perhaps the most important thing, 43 minutes he was on the court.
Yes.
In his opener, after a handful of practices, possibly not being in the best of shape, Matt, he played 43 minutes in that game. When he steps on that court, he comes to play. So we can say whatever we want about off the court stuff, but it's tough to deny what he does and who he is once he gets out there.
I think the most interesting number you just said was 17 assists, because if you don't watch him play, you assume, well, he's selfish. You assume he's a guy who wants it all for him, but that's actually not the case. He makes dudes around him better. Now, he has to have the ball. You have to be cool watching him pound it into the ground. And for a lot of people, that's not fun to watch. But if you get past that, every single player that plays with Harden, in my opinion, is better than if they don't play with him, especially the secondary guys, because he finds ways to make guys better. And if you want from your stars a guy who's not only good, but makes the people around him better, I think Harden does that. Now, most of you spent the weekend focused on football, and I understand that. So up next, we are going to clear up the AFC and NFC playoff picture. That's next on the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's Greeny, and from our family at ESPN Radio to yours, wishing you a very safe, healthy, and happy holiday season. Want to make sure that you know that starting Tuesday, January 5th, we are moving. We'll be coming your way every morning starting 10 a.m. Eastern Time right here on ESPN Radio.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Hello, everybody. You're looking live at Fansville, a college football utopia. Fansville. Where the rivers flow with ice-cold Dr. Pepper. Delicious. Where every day is Saturday and everyone's a fan. Even babies. Fan babies. And the seasons never change because the only season is college football season. Get a taste of Fansville this fall during a college football game near you. Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. Grab some today.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Every home needs a reliable thermometer for twice-a-day temperature readings. Protect your family with the Exergen Temporal Scanner, the only home thermometer used by hospitals, physicians, and clinics.
Tune in to the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM, or stream it live at wingam.com.
I mean, come on. I know as well as you do, Paul, and all these people like to remind me. And I get hell on your show for going back 4 or 5 years to remind people we beat Alabama in the semifinals. Yet it's fine for these South Carolina fans to go back 15, 20 years when John Cooper was here that we've never beat a team out of South Carolina. Hey, I know it too. I'm a fan of Ohio State. But that doesn't mean we don't want to line up and play Clemson again. We want to beat Clemson. Just like I know Alabama wants to beat Ohio State because of what happened in the last time we played.
Hey, it's your girl, Chineo Guamake.
And Mike Gola Jr., and we just want to wish everyone very happy holidays and a happy and healthy new year.
Thank you for rocking with us in 2020, and we will be keeping that same energy in 2021.
The PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. Oregon heads to Glendale, Arizona, fresh off winning their COVID-influenced second straight Pac-12 championship. They'll face Iowa State, who is knocking on the playoff door before falling in the Big 12 title game. The PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. 10th ranked Iowa State, number 25 Oregon. Coverage begins Saturday at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. Are you ready for AFC East rivals on Monday night?
Yeah. Sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry, but I guess you know now.
We cried all week. You can shine on Monday night.
Allen and the Bills. Cam and the Patriots. Monday Night Football. Tonight at 8 Eastern on ESPN and ABC.
NFL season's winding down. Playoff spots still up for grabs. Time to get ready for the playoffs.
The Max Kellerman Show, weekdays at 2 Eastern on ESPN Radio. And now, watch exclusively on ESPN Plus.
One app, one tap, that's that. One swipe, one slide, send it back. One app running with elite QBs. Russell got the cannon throwing clutch TDs. Little crossing over, step behind the line. Ain't no need to watch the clock, cause you know it's dang time. Yeah. You know what? One app with the 30 for 30s. 2-finger push-ups, Bruce Lee showing no mercy. Fat Five got the crew on deck. Best believe Bo knows OG do it great. Yeah. No one else goes deeper, that's a fact. One slide, one tap, it's the ESPN app. Download now.
Listen to Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin at home. Just tell your smart speaker to play ESPN Radio.
Now playing ESPN Radio.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin at 6 Eastern on ESPN.
What you're thinking.
Welcome into the Fantasy Focus Football Podcast.
Hollywood mogul McConaughey. This is the kind of guest you're going to get in the SV pod.
His reputation is destroyed. I don't feel sorry for Donald Sterling.
The final question comes from legend.
The legend that is Adam Schefter.
It's Julie Foudy. Simone Biles is in the house.
Listen to me now. Believe me later on. This has been ESPN Dale. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
ESPN Podcasts. Something for everyone. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
The NFL and Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin.
I don't know what to say about the Seahawks defense. Win the division, get in the playoff, and see where your defense is at.
Strong opinions, in-depth analysis from the biggest stories in the NFL.
They've already set a narrative in their minds in the organization that he's hella young and hella immature and he's never going to grow. So they start treating you like a chief.
Complete coverage of the NFL with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin. Mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News. Exclusively on ESPN Plus, UFC 257, Saturday, January 23rd. The notorious Conor McGregor returns.
McGregor! I plan on stealing the show every time.
With a rematch against Dustin the Diamond Poirier.
Dustin Poirier!
I'm going to stop Conor by any means necessary.
UFC 257, McGregor.
WYNG 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
At 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app.
This is the Max Kellerman Show. Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
It is the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. It's presented by Progressive Insurance. Max is off today, enjoying the holidays. I'm Matt Jones. Along with me is Joe Fortenbaugh, and we are here to get you through the next couple hours and talk about a big Monday after a huge weekend of NFL football. Of course, big news today, Dwayne Haskins has been cut from the Washington football team. And nevertheless, the football team will be playing for a spot in the playoffs in the NFC and a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And Joe, it was interesting over the weekend. I found if you look at the difference between the NFC and the AFC, some of it is about whether or not their contenders are playing the best football. Because right now, if you look at the NFC, the teams that I think are legitimate Super Bowl contenders all had a huge weekend. Of course, the Packers looked great last night in the snow against the Titans. Saints played excellent. Alvin Kamara breaking NFL or tying NFL records, an historic performance. Tom Brady, second most yards ever in the first half passing in a game with the Bucs. And then the Seahawks win against the Rams and looked great as well. So 4 teams, in my opinion, all of which have a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl. Which one impressed you the most, and who would you say is the odds-on favorite today going into Week 17?
From an odds perspective, the NFC teams to win the Super Bowl, Green Bay 1 at plus 550, the Saints 2 at 7-1, the Seahawks 3 at 10-1, and the Buccaneers 4 at 12-1. And you're going to see a distinct edge right now for Green Bay for a few reasons. Most notably, the team that gets the bye is at a very strategic advantage this year more than any other year because only one team is getting the bye and a lot of teams are running out of gas late in the season. 2 teams, to answer the first part of your question, caught my eye equally: Green Bay and Seattle. And when we talk about Green Bay and Seattle, the conversation always starts with Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, respectively. But this time, it's not about that for me. I know those guys can play. I know those offenses can score. What caught my eye is what those defenses have been doing as of late, because those have been the Achilles heel of both teams. Yesterday, the Packers held Derrick Henry to 98 rushing yards, his 6th lowest total of the season. He didn't score a touchdown for the first time in 7 games. Green Bay's won 7 of 8. First 7 games of the season, they were giving up 27 points per game. The last 8 games, they're giving up 20 points per game. I'm wondering, has this defense found something? And then on the same note, what about Seattle? The defense was historically bad to open the season from a total yardage and passing yardage standpoint. And in their last 7 games, they've given up 23 to the Rams, 21, 17, 17, 3, 15, and then 9 yesterday to Jared Goff and the Rams. Now, Jared Goff injured his thumb. It's a divisional opponent. There's some familiarity there. But with the defenses playing the way they are in Seattle and Green Bay, Matt Jones, that's what stands out to me. Because if those teams can play competent defense in the playoffs, it's going to be awfully tough to beat them once we get to January.
And especially when you consider the fact that if the defenses are just competent, you've got the 2 maybe most clutch, along with Patrick Mahomes, most clutch quarterbacks, period. What's interesting to me about the Packers specifically, and I think this is a hangover from last year, is there's for a franchise that is as historic and marquee as Green Bay, I feel like we've had 2 straight seasons where we haven't talked about them really at all during the year. Last year, they were way under the radar, had a great record, went to the playoffs, and showed maybe they should have been under the radar. Another year, oddly, I think we don't talk about the Packers as much. The games haven't quite been as much on everybody's radar, maybe because Brady has been in Tampa Bay. And I think there's a big part of me that has sort of assumed that they were fraudulent this year like they were last year. And then I watched last night, and I thought in the snow, I know teams allegedly from the South don't like playing in the snow, but it's not like these people live in these cities all the time. It's not a big deal. But I thought, especially with Derrick Henry, that's the kind of game for the Titans, right? It was never really competitive except for a very short period of time. I think the Packers now, for me, are the favorites. But what I love about this is in the AFC, we have questions about a lot of these teams. You know, is Lamar going to be better in the playoffs this year? Is Josh Allen ready? Is Big Ben too old? These 4 teams that we just mentioned have 4 dudes that we know what they are. We know they are superstars. And I agree with you. If the defenses for all these teams are just competent, then it becomes about those quarterbacks. And that's what I want to see, because these are 4 Hall of Famers. I want to see these 4 Hall of Famers, some of which are on their last ride, go at it. That's why I think the NFC is so compelling.
To answer your original question there regarding why we don't talk about the Packers as much over the last couple of seasons, despite what they're doing, because they're essentially the mirror version, the NFC version of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're always around. They're always competitive. They are always there. We are so used to going into the postseason with the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger that we don't really wake up to it until we see them deep in the postseason. The problem for Green Bay, and this is something I've been talking about for a couple years because I find this fascinating. How are you going to go 30 years with Hall of Fame quarterback play and record just 2 Super Bowls? That's what they're looking at. When you make the transition from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, every other organization in professional sports would kill to have a transition like that for the duration that they have been allowed to enjoy that much time of elite play at the most important position on the field, and yet only 2 Super Bowl wins. Do you consider that underperforming? Do you consider the Packers coming up short in that spot?
Yes, I do. Because if you look throughout history, how many times have you had that? San Francisco with Montana and Young. Who else has that? I mean,
you could have made the case, and it fell apart, but it was looking like it was going to happen in Indianapolis with Manning to Luck. There was going to be a lot of great quarterback play there, and then Luck retired.
That's a very good point. That would have potentially been the third. So if you go through all that and you only have 2, it's an issue. But I actually think they legitimately can win it this year, and I am not the only one. Rex Ryan, who's ESPN's NFL analyst, he was on Get Up this morning, and he thinks the Packers are good enough to beat the Chiefs.
The Packer defense is not playing a little bit better. They're playing a hell of a lot better, and they got that defense going. And quite honestly, when Green Bay takes this team down to Tampa for the Super Bowl, if the Kansas City Chiefs are there, Ryan, I think Green Bay is going to beat them. I like the way this team is. They're going like this. I don't see the same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. And look, there's something about this team. And look, I don't want them to. Ryan, I've said all the whole season, I don't want the Packers to because they butchered the draft. But, man, my eyes are telling me that this is the best team.
This team is
It's interesting when you said a minute ago that the number one seed is more important. And this is the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, Matt Jones, Joe Fortenbaugh. I agree with you about the bye because the 2 seed doesn't get one this year. But what's interesting is after you get past that, it's probably never been less important because there are no fans. With no fans, something that would have been a huge advantage for Green Bay or even for Seattle, they don't have. So I think it's going to be about being kind of clutch down the stretch. And so I would ask you a question. With those 4 quarterbacks, Breeze, Brady, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, in that moment, are there any of those 4 guys this year you're worried about? Historically, they've all been able to do it. But are there any that you're worried about this year in that moment not being able to make the plays?
Brady and Breeze. No doubt Brady and Breeze. Not worried about
Do you believe
Rodgers.
that they won't be able to, or is it just that they've struggled this year?
I think I would say that I worry about their ability to do it consistently. I don't think they can't make the plays. I know Rodgers can make every single play he needs to make throughout the course of the game. Same with Russell Wilson. I worry about Breeze and I worry about Brady. Don't be fooled. Brady and the Bucs looked fantastic against Detroit's D squad. All right, half the coaching staff was out for that game. The Lions have been abysmal for the 300th season in a row. That was a cakewalk, and the Bucs treated it exactly the way they should. But Tampa Bay has had a lot of problems firing from the gates this season. They are slow starters. Brady has missed open wide receivers, and it still feels like whatever Bruce Arians wants that offense to look like is very, very different from what Tom Brady wants that offense to look like. That game against Minnesota's defense that Alvin Kamara just carved up on Saturday, Brady had trouble hitting his targets early in that game. And that's been a theme this year. So I have concerns there. And then when you look at New Orleans, I have a lot of concerns about Drew Brees. He is very good at checking the ball down, but the vertical passing threat that he used to be no longer exists. And with Michael Thomas out until the playoffs, who knows what he's going to look like when they come back? I worry about New Orleans. The problems with Green Bay and Seattle have always been the defense. If the defenses can step up, that puts them over the top. But with Rex Ryan talking about them being the most dangerous team in the league, let me ask you this. The defense looks better, and statistically they've been better. But how much of that is because of them, and how much of that is because of their competition? Because look at who they've played the last 5 weeks. Chicago and Nick Foles, the Eagles and Carson Wentz, Detroit, Carolina, and then Tennessee. Not exactly the who's who of NFL offense.
No, that's a very valid point.
Read up on them.
That is a very valid point. I would note, of all the teams, I actually like Seattle the best. I'm not saying they'll win it, but I like the fact that now they have a running game. Their defense is playing well, and those receivers, especially DK Metcalf, I think they're special. So I really like them. We'll see what happens. Now, I want to tell you something, Joe, that you, of all people, need to hear. Hindsight is 20/20, and 2020 was a brutal year with a lot that we couldn't control. There was a pandemic, you may have heard of it, economy problems, unemployment, but what can we control? We can control our job and our career. And in 2020, my computer career helped more people start IT careers than ever. So don't look back with 2020 hindsight next year and see yourself in that 2020 job. 2020 hindsight and a 2020 job. You don't want that. Take control. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. This isn't rocket science. It's just mycomputercareer.edu. Do it for me. Do it for Joe. mycomputercareer.edu. Dwayne Haskins may be having to look at that after being let go by the Washington football team. But nevertheless, some of the quarterbacks who seem to get the criticism he did in his early career have actually turned it around. And I think mostly of Josh Allen, who's playing tonight against the Patriots. And in my opinion, has the team most likely to beat the Chiefs in the AFC. Now, maybe I'll feel differently tomorrow. I've been unbelievably impressed with Josh Allen. Do you believe that the Bills are the team who can knock off Mahomes and the Chiefs, especially after they have struggled in the last 2 weeks, and yesterday, maybe the worst performance from Mahomes in 2 years?
I believe they are a team that can knock off the Chiefs. I don't think it has to be limited to just one. I think they are a team. I worry about two things. One, the defense a little bit. And then number two, once they get to the playoffs, how are they going to handle themselves in crucial game management situations? Sean McDermott, very little playoff experience as a head coach. Josh Allen, very little playoff experience as a starting quarterback. We saw him last year botch it in Houston, but that's okay. That's a different team. That's a different time. You put it in the rearview mirror. But this is a different ballgame. This is a different animal when you get to the NFL postseason, and the mistakes are magnified. You've got to be razor sharp. So the inexperience of the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs would be the only thing that worries me right now about this team. But the way the quarterback is playing is a testament to how you go about developing that position in the NFL. Early on, Allen didn't look very good. He came out of Wyoming with some question marks, most notably accuracy, and most specifically, accuracy with the deep ball. He's answered all of that. But look at what Buffalo's done. In the 3 years Josh Allen has been with the Bills, he's had the same head coach, Sean McDermott, for all 3 years. He's had the same play caller and offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, for all 3 years. And the team went out and made the offense better each and every year, giving him Stephon Diggs, the wide receiver from Minnesota, in a trade this offseason. That's what you do. You give the kid continuity. You exhibit patience, and then you build around him and give him the best
but they've been able to do that
to succeed.
They've been able to do that because he got a little better every year. Like, they realized Stephon Diggs was worth that draft pick. And by the way, that draft pick ended up being Justin Jefferson. So it worked out for both teams.
Great move for Minnesota.
But you knew it was time to make that move because you had seen him play better. But what's interesting to me about the Bills is if everybody wins, you're going to get an AFC semifinal matchup, which is Bills-Steelers, if it stays close to form. And the Steelers, to me, are the hardest team to figure out. If you watch the first half against the Colts, they look like a team ready to pack it in that couldn't beat anybody. Then in the second half, they look like a team that could win the Super Bowl. Mike Tannenbaum, who's ESPN's NFL front office insider, was on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin and said, look, the Steelers won, but there are big issues.
They still cannot run the ball. And we all know the Pittsburgh Steelers about being a dominant team up front, tough, being able to run the ball, that AFC North mentality, and they're still struggling doing that. Now, look, Ben Roethlisberger made 3 or 4 throws yesterday that many people can't make. They have an incredible group of skill players. They will be hard to defend in the playoffs. But, yeah, they needed a win. They had to take the noise down. And more fundamentally, I think the concerns on the other side of the ball, when you lose great players, Bud Dupree, Devin Bush, those guys are difference makers. And even though you still have TJ Watt, it's not the same where they can double team him on every snap. So Pittsburgh's going to be a hard out, but I think they've fallen back and they are no longer in the elite status of the AFC.
You know what I really like about Pittsburgh? I disagree completely with Mike that they're not in the elite of the AFC. But I like that they are win now no matter what. Perfect example. They lose Bud Dupree and Key, and then they immediately go and bring in Avery Williamson from the Jets in a trade. Like they decide we are never going to wait. We're going to go get them immediately. And that's why I still think in a postseason game, even if it's against Buffalo, that's worth a few points, isn't it, Joe? This sort of the Pittsburgh winning mentality. To me, you can't say that they don't have a chance because of that.
No, absolutely not. And I think the biggest advantage for Pittsburgh at this point in the year is that in Week 17, when they play the Browns, I don't see them playing any of their starters. If they're smart, they realize that one of the biggest problems they've had over the last month plus of the season is that they have run out of gas. They've run out of gas at quarterback, on offense, and on defense. They're a team that's had to play so many short week games because of other teams and their COVID issues that they look tired.
You think that's it? You think it's the sort of lingering? Because they never really got a full bye week because of that.
I think that's one of the big issues. So I think they go into Week 17, they rest everybody, they give themselves 2 weeks to get ready for that first playoff game, and that gives them a better chance to win. However, I think Tannenbaum's right when he talks about their inability to run the ball. At some point, you have got to get the running game going just to keep the defense honest. They have a lot of drops at wide receiver. Roethlisberger's missed a lot of wide receivers this season.
Yes.
They've got issues. And again, in the playoffs, those issues are magnified. So once they go up against the cream of the crop, they're going to have to clean it up. The bye week's going to help. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I wonder about that game yesterday against Indianapolis. Did Pittsburgh come back and win it, in your opinion, or did Indy blow it? Because there's a case to be made either way. And Phillip Rivers gave up 2 very easy scores to the Steelers in that game.
He did, but I do think, and it's the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, Matt Jones, Joe Fortenbaugh, I do think Ben made some big plays down the stretch. As bad as he looked in the first half, he looked at it good in the second half. But I want to focus what you mentioned on the running game. I don't really understand why it's so bad. I mean, James Conner and Benny Snell have both had really good moments this year. They've both had games where they looked really as 2 of the better combos in the league. And yet, starting like 3 weeks ago, when they started losing, they can't even, they have no holes. They can't get a yard. It is amazing how the offensive line there has been able to get no push at all in the last few weeks. And you're right. You can't rely. Ben's not at the point of his career, Ben Roethlisberger, where you can rely on him to go win you a playoff game by himself.
No, and if you look at it right now, Pittsburgh, in terms of rushing, ranks dead last in the NFL.
That's amazing to me. How is that possible with this group?
That used to be them, right? They used to be with Jerome Bettis and Willie Parker. They were the team. Rashard Mendenhall was there for a little while. Shout out to the University of Illinois. 84.3 yards per carry, dead last in the NFL. That's Steeler football, physical football, run the football and play defense. They've gotten much more prolific at wide receiver over the last few years. But again, the drops, the mistakes in timing between Roethlisberger and the wide receivers. But I wouldn't write them off. I think the rest next week they get against the Browns, assuming that's what they do. And I think they'd be nuts to go out there and try to compete in that game. Just get everyone the rest they need so that when they hit the playoffs, they're ready to go. They're as dangerous as anybody. I know everyone wants to talk about Baltimore being the most dangerous team in the NFL right now. Let me tell you something. Baltimore's been playing nobody the last few weeks. All right? Harbaugh hasn't won a playoff game since 2012 when his team won the Super Bowl. And Baltimore has a very glaring weakness, which is they cannot play from behind. Same thing happened with Tennessee yesterday. They're so predicated on the running game with Derrick Henry, much like Baltimore is with Dobbins and Lamar Jackson and Ingram and everyone there, Gus Edwards, that when they fall behind, they can't run as much. And when they can't run as much, they need to start throwing. And Tannehill gets exposed in those spots, and so does Lamar Jackson. That's what's hurt him in the playoffs the last 2 years. So I'm not going to buy into Baltimore just yet because I need to see them consistently compete from behind. Because when they trail, they are completely off their game script moving forward the rest of the way out.
Well, the odds for the Super Bowl are very interesting. You've got the Chiefs plus 160, the Packers plus 550, Seahawks 10-1, Buffalo 10-1. So what we want to do is, if you were to bet on the Super Bowl right now, if you were to look at the odds and say, which team do I think gives me the most value and I would bet on them, who would they be? Give us a call. We will take and get your opinion. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. 888-SAY-ESPN. Give us a shout. What is the best value going into the playoffs on what looks like a Super Bowl that could be 8-10 teams that really have a legit shot of going? That's next here on the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's Greeny, and from our family at ESPN Radio to yours, wishing you a very safe, healthy, and happy holiday season. Want to make sure that you know that starting Tuesday, January 5th, we are moving. We'll be coming your way every morning starting 10 a.m. Eastern Time right here on ESPN Radio.
College football, it's the game you wake up early on Saturdays for, even though kickoff isn't until 7. The game where the Goodyear blimp becomes a Hall of Famer. The game that goes just beyond school, spirit, fandom, or love of the sport. It's the game where the comebacks happen. It's the game where anything can and will happen, as long as you have the drive. Because college football is the game that moves you. We get it because it moves us too. Goodyear, more driven.
Hi, friend. It's your home speaking, and I need some favors. Could you turn on some of the lights in the basement? I'm scared of the dark. Also, this one is easy. Could you bundle your home and car insurance with Geico so we could save money? Last thing, just a suggestion. Could you steam clean the carpets? I need a spa day.
Geico. For bundling made easy, go to geico.com today.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
No break in the clouds as temps fall through the day. Mostly cloudy and breezy tonight. The temp will continue to drop into the low 20s. We'll see sunshine tomorrow with a high in the mid to upper 30s. I'm John Bailey for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hey, y'all, this is your girl, Cheryl Underwood, and I want to tell you something. My digestive system used to make me feel sluggish. Those days are over. Now I feel great. That's because I increased my fiber intake with the Metamucil 2-week challenge, and I'm still hooked. I just took Metamucil every day for 14